Okay, moving on to diversity in the workforce, I'd now like to introduce Jane Counsel from Westpac, who will, as you can see, the title of her speech is Enabling Diversity in the Workplace. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian, and thanks, COTA, for this great opportunity. I'm very passionate about diversity, particularly gender diversity, and I'm actually very lucky to work for an organisation that's made this a key strategic priority, reinforced by a fabulous female CEO, I might add. So we have an aspiration to be one of the world's great workplaces for diversity and flexibility because we see it as a vital part of our value proposition to be one of the world's great companies, supporting our customers, our communities and our employees to prosper and grow. And I'll talk in a moment about our program, but I wanted to put a little bit of context to not only is diversity the right thing to do for us as an organisation, it actually is a critical enabler of the workforce of the future. We're going to be 200, we'll celebrate our 200th anniversary in 2017, and a lot of thinking has gone into the type of organisation that we would like to be in 2017. And we've been looking at the fact that we're seeing a lot of changes in the environment for banking. We're also seeing a lot of changes in the way that people are working and in sort of society and demographic trends more broadly. We're looking at shifts such as an ageing workforce and the opportunities that this provides the organisation, the role of digitisation and the impact on our workforce, our customers and our business, the economic transformation of our economy from the mining boom days to a service revolution driven by disruptive technology, and Asia as a new growth market. And all of these changes actually will require Westpac to access a broader, more diverse and more flexible workforce and a talent pool, and to develop leaders who have global mindsets to manage virtual, regional and diverse teams. And the future of banking also demands that we embed and leverage the diversity of our people, mindsets and capabilities. So I just wanted to give you that framing in the context of the fact that it is a strategic business priority for us as an organisation, and one that we believe is critical to our success. We have, I thought it was useful just to give you a quick outline of our key focus on diversity and how we really embed it into the core of our business. Gender is obviously the centrepiece of our diversity strategy, but we have other streams focused on accessibility, so providing an accessible workplace for our employees and customers with disabilities, LGBTI inclusion, age diversity obviously, flexibility for all, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about flexibility shortly because we believe that mainstreaming flexibility is crucial for changing the perception of working parents and in particular working mums. Indigenous recruitment is another stream of our focus, and in cultural diversity as well. And that's not only creating a culture of diversity and inclusion in the organisation, but creating opportunities for more culturally diverse leaders in our organisation. We have great cultural diversity at entry and lower management levels in the organisation, but there's a great opportunity for more cultural diversity in leadership roles, but also to build the capability of our people leaders to lead and manage culturally diverse teams, particularly as we focus on growth opportunities in Asia, where by 2030 it is estimated that 50% of the world's population is going to be living in Asia. So flexibility, it's a key enabler for diversity and inclusion because it supports all of our employees in how they need to work for a variety of reasons. And interestingly, you'll see, I'll talk to some stats shortly, but 62% of our employees are working flexibly. That includes a large number of men. And no surprises for most of you, but men want flexibility just as often as women do, but often for different reasons and for a variety of different reasons. And for Westpac, we've got a really strong culture around supporting people in working flexibly, and again for a broad range of reasons. We've long recognised the benefits of supporting people in working flexibly. It helps in attracting a broader talent pool, it increases workplace participation at all levels, employee engagement and job satisfaction scores are positively linked with providing flexibility. There's a strong correlation, no surprises, between employee wellbeing and access to flexible work. And importantly, employees who have access to flexible work, whether they choose to utilise it or not, have a greater sense of wellbeing than those employees who don't feel that they can access flexible work. And employees who work flexibly are also great advocates for the organisation and promoting it to other people as a great place to work. And this is critical for women, particularly women in what we call the middle career years, aged between 33 and 39. if they have a leader who supports flexibility, they are twice as likely to recommend the organisation as a great place to work. So for us, there is, it makes absolute business sense in the war for talent, particularly for female talent, that we support our employees in working flexibly. And I don't know if any of you have seen the great work that Ernst & Young do through the Productivity Pulse, but employees who work flexibly actually believe they are more productive. So there are productivity benefits for the organisation as well, because people working flexibly will, not only do they believe that they are more productive than people not working flexibly, but they will actively increase their productivity because they really respect the opportunity to be able to work in a way that supports them in managing their personal and their work requirements. Now, for Westpac, the critical piece that we're really moving to is mainstreaming flexibility for all, and actually making it something that takes it out of the individual construct and being focused around traditional ways of working and traditional parenting, but recognising that all of our employees at some stage in their career will have a very different reason for working flexibly, men and women, and by actually taking the construct away from part-time work or formalised flexibility and offering a whole broad range of flexibility, we believe that that will actually help us unlock some of the challenges and the barriers that we see for women's participation in the workforce. And really, flexibility, we believe, is a key construct of our workplaces in 2017 for all the reasons that I've outlined earlier in terms of the digitisation and our requirement to be more agile in how we service our customers, as well as the physical change that we're seeing in workspaces. We're increasingly moving to agile-based workspaces. Westpac is going to be moving to one starting later this year in Melbourne, and also our new head office in Barangaroo. That's going to actually change, I believe, quite fundamentally the way people engage and move away from this construct around presenteeism. So if you are present in the office, you must somehow be working. And what we're also focusing on is changing the conversations in the organisation so that flexible work is not also seen as a privilege and something that is only given to a select group of people. And by doing this, we've been rolling out some new training and toolkits that focuses on teams having conversations around flexibility and recognising that individuals in that team have very different requirements. So how can teams find solutions to make flexible work for all? And it takes away any sort of negativity around certain groups of the workforce working flexibly. And we believe by actually having the teams take accountability for success, that we will establish a strong link between individual benefits, team benefits, business benefits and customer benefits. So I wanted to talk obviously about gender equity at Westpac Group, and we've done a lot of work over the years around supporting women in participating in the workforce, but particularly moving into leadership roles where we see the greatest disparity around the pay equity piece, where we have a larger number of men in leadership roles versus women. As you can see, we do have a really good representation of females in the workforce at Westpac, around 60%, and that number has actually stayed quite stable over the years. 42% of women are now in leadership roles, so we're quite proud of that number. We set a target back in 2010 to achieve 40% by 2014. We actually achieved it in 2012, so we're actually ahead of our own targets on that. 58% of our bank managers are females, and we have wonderful policies, as I've indicated, to support women in working flexibly. We have paid parental leave, which I'll come to shortly. So we have a really good retention rate when women go off on parental leave as well, which is really important for us, particularly in ensuring that we are supporting women in their financial situations, but also promoting them in having sustainable and long careers. As I indicated, we have a very proud history of taking positive action for women in the workforce. We were one of the first companies to introduce paid parental leave in the early 90s under the guidance of Anne Sherry, who was then the head of HR, the group executive for HR at Westpac. And in 2010, we became the first company to actually also pay super on the entire parental leave period, even for the unpaid parental leave period, recognising that that was actually a critical component in helping close the gap in retirement savings for women. And we continue, as I've indicated earlier, to offer market-leading policies for flexible work. And these policies include part-time work, job share, compressed working weeks, flexible start and finish times, working from home, carers leave, grandparental leave, career breaks, and options to purchase additional annual leave. And we also recognise it's important to support our carers regardless of what type of caring that they are doing. And so we have introduced things like a carers concierge, which is an intranet site that provides advice around policies, programs and community assistance for people regardless of their caring responsibilities. But I would flag that I think the caring piece more broadly is an opportunity for all organisations to actually look at it a bit more closely, including Westpac, because childcare is still much more culturally accepted in our organisation. We know that from the results of our diversity survey that we run every 2 years, but we know increasingly with an ageing workforce that approximately 15% of our employees currently have dual caring responsibilities. So I think this is a real opportunity for us as an organisation to look at what more we can do for caring more broadly. I want to talk quickly about our approach to gender equity. We have what we call a hardwiring and a soft wiring approach, which is really focusing on breaking down both the structural barriers in the organisation as well as some of the cultural barriers, and to the point you made, Heidi, some of the individual barriers as well. And it's really important that you need to focus on doing both. It's one thing to set targets and have them hardwired to KPIs, which does work. But it's another thing to not actually tackle some of the ingrained cultural challenges in the organisation, things like unconscious bias and often conscious bias, and how that might play out in regards to gender equity, as well as recognising the contribution of women, role modelling success stories so that women can actually see that there is opportunities for career development and progression in the organisation, and that they can have a career path. So it's really important that we actually focus on both of those aspects. Equally, it's important for us as an organisation to be both an employer of choice and a bank of choice for women. We all know that I've heard enough from the presentations, and we've seen enough from all the gloomy data about the retirement savings of women, and particularly those who've taken time out of the workplace to be a primary carer and returned to the workplace in a primary carer and had to work in a part-time capacity. So we've been focused on this issue for a very long time, and I just want to share with you some research that we published ourselves last year through our women's markets business, which was the first dedicated business in the banking sector that focused specifically on women and helping support women in their financial aspirations. But research that we published last November found that the average 60-year-old women, and this is not going to surprise anyone in the room, retire with $122,000 less super than the average male. And as a result of their current financial situation, over half of the survey participants in their early 50s and 60s were now preparing to actually retire later than they had planned, which is a really concerning trend. And many of them are planning to work well into their 60s to pay off their debts to ensure they can continue to maintain their standard of living. So recognising that importance obviously is a critical role of our women's markets team. And as a bank, we believe we have an obligation to support women in financial literacy and also in achieving all of their career and professional goals. So in addition to our women's markets business, we've also established the Ruby Connection website, which is an online community which you can access regardless of whether you're a customer of Westpac's or not, and that inspires, educates and promotes and connects Australian women and helping them achieve their aspirations both professionally and financially. The good news is our approach on gender equity is delivering results, and as I indicated earlier, we actually achieved. So when we reinvigorated our focus back in 2010 under the leadership of our CEO Gail Kelly, we found that despite having about 61% of our population being female, only 33% of our females were in leadership roles. So we set a target of 40% by 2014 and actually have achieved 42%. And now Gail has raised the bar again and set an aspirational target of 50% by 2017. So there's never a complacency at Westpac, which is fantastic. But it is delivering really good results. We have increased engagement amongst our females. They have a higher belief in the organisation's goals, greater willingness to stay, and are more likely to recommend the organisation to other women. But importantly, we did an audit last year, 2 years on from the establishment of the program, and I think this is probably the most compelling data that showed us that when you give something focus, you do get results, and what is measured does change. Responses from all women at all levels in the organisation in 2012 have improved significantly since 2010 across all gender-related questions. There has also been a significant and universal improvement in women's perceptions of gender equity, especially in their regard to their ability to advance to more senior positions. So when you create a critical mass of women in leadership roles, it helps inspire other women to see what's possible. And the perception gap between men and women about opportunities for advancement in the organisation has significantly narrowed. And this was a big issue for us back in 2010 because it actually showed that in many ways that there was a blind spot in our senior people leaders, a large number of who are men, around opportunities for women in the organisation. But pleasingly, most of our employees actually believe that we're leveraging diversity to better service our customers, so they clearly see the business benefits of promoting diversity in the workforce, which is a really, really fantastic outcome. And perceptions of senior leaders' communication and vision for diversity, along with their capability to manage diverse teams, has also improved. So, it's a really good check-in point to see, are we making a change in the organisation? And yes, we are, and I'm absolutely delighted to see that. Just want to quickly touch on an ageing workforce because we see great opportunities for an ageing workforce, and obviously, touched on some of the issues earlier, Ben, and you all know the research that our population is ageing with large numbers of people, approaching retirement age and fewer younger people entering the labour market. And according to the Human Rights Commission, I'm going to quote some research from 2012, Alison, the unemployment of older Australians has both social and economic implications to the tune of $10.8 billion annually. And according to the Grattan Institute, who have put out some great research earlier this year, the years of disability-free life for older Australians is actually increasing, yet we still lag many of our other developed countries, including New Zealand, our closest neighbour, in the workforce participation of older employees. So at Westpac, we actually believe that strategies to engage and retain older workers are a critical enabler of our success. As you will see, we have 20% of our employees are aged 50 and above. We actually want to retain an increasing number in the workforce, recognising that many of them have valuable skills and a contribution to make. They are feeling better, they want to work longer. So one of the things that we've done is actually put some targets in our sustainability report to increase the mean retirement age to 62 by 2017 and increase our prime of life employees or our 50 plus employees participation in the workforce to 22% by 2017. To support these objectives, earlier this year we actually created a targeted program for our 50 plus segment, utilising industry experts, Sage Co, and some of the training that they've created around called Envisage and Navigate, which is specifically getting older workers to start thinking now, the age of 50, because we believe 50 is a good time to start thinking about your future, around what's the most critical components of the next 10, 20, 15 years for the individual. And we also recognise in the process that retaining an older worker in the workforce often was very reliant on the quality conversations they were having with their people leader. So in addition to creating a training program that gets our employees to look at the next 20 years in a holistic sense around health, finances, career opportunities, community and family, that we needed to focus on working with our people leaders on being able to have some really constructive and respectful conversations about the opportunities to the organisation. So we've had some fantastic response, no surprises, since we've rolled out this program. And one of the other things that we're supporting it with is tools to actually support teams and individuals in workforce planning and recognising that in certain populations in our workforce there's a lot of great knowledge that we risk losing as it walks out the door and never getting that knowledge back again if we don't actually approach it in a really respectful and constructive way. So for us it was a really critical piece, and interestingly in our survey responses, which we do every 2 years, we got very strong feedback from all of our age demographics that we needed to be doing more to support our ageing workforce. So there's a really strong culture in the organisation about the contribution of ageing workers, and I think that this is something that we'll continue to work towards and will only continue to play out, particularly now with changes to eligibility for pensions. But I'd like to think that this is an opportunity that Westpac saw quite early and has been responding and moving on in advance. So just finally, I just wanted to touch on the lessons that we've learned around enabling diversity in the workplace. It doesn't happen by accident. You need a constant focus. You need CEO and board support. You need people leaders to be engaged. You need to drive the accountability. I think we learned a critical lesson. Westpac's always had a strong focus on diversity, but I think over the years, that has waxed and waned depending on the priorities of the organisation. But I can absolutely assure you, under our CEO Gail Kelly, there's been tremendous focus, tremendous structure, and I really feel quite confident and comfortable with the progress the organisation's making. Targets on their own, as I indicated earlier, don't work. Interventions must focus on both the cultural, the structural, and the individual barriers as well. And one of the things that we're increasingly learning ourselves, even on our own journey, is that you really need to link diversity and inclusion programs into business strategies and priorities, which is why recognising that diversity and flexibility are such critical enablers of the workforce that we are trying to create in 2017 has been a crucial point for us to make. And one of the things that we're increasingly learning ourselves, even on our own journey, is that you really need to link diversity and inclusion programs into business strategies and priorities, which is why recognising that diversity and flexibility are such critical enablers of the workforce that we are trying to create in 2017 has been a crucial point for us to make. Flexibility, no surprises, is a critical enabler of women's participation in the organisation and central to building advocacy for the organisation. And interestingly, it's something that our younger employees increasingly expect. So our under 30 demographic, both male and female, they see flexibility as an absolute given. So I would certainly say that any organisation that doesn't realise this is certainly going to miss out on a great talent pool going forward. And the final point that I'll make is that our employees are highly engaged, and so you need to give them a platform. We have 7 fantastic employee action groups that drive innovation and best practice and really keep us honest in terms of our focus. So I guess that's the Westpac perspective. So hopefully what I've shared with you today has given you some insights from our own little journey. I'm not saying we've got everything right. We certainly have, like every organisation, we need to keep focusing on this, but I'm certainly very proud to work for an organisation that sees diversity and inclusion and flexibility as a critical business enabler. So thank you very much for the opportunity.